Hi, I'm Andy Otto, and I'm on the pastoral team at Ignatius House. My wife Sarah and I used to live at the Newman Catholic Center in Chico, California. And outside the entrance was a huge monument which had the Ten Commandments on one side and the Beatitudes on the other. But it was the Ten Commandments side which faced the street, the side people could see most prominently when passing by or coming into the building. You really only saw the side with the Beatitudes if you were coming out of the building. I found it unfortunate that it is the commandments that had the most public view. The Ten Commandments have become a kind of cliche symbol of negative Christian stereotypes. Its presence in courthouses is viciously fought over. But the Beatitudes, words from Jesus' own heart, tend to get second place to the Ten Commandments. I have a feeling that if the Beatitudes were placed outside courthouses, there would be a lot less upset. I think what is appealing about them is what makes Lent so appealing to so many people of faith. They're about transformation. They present to us God's upside-down kingdom, a kingdom that calls us to die to self in order to live. The Beatitudes have this pattern, where mourning is turned into comfort, poverty turned into abundance, hunger into full bellies. Isn't that the joyful message of Lent? We never suffer for suffering's sake. Suffering, rather, is the consequence of great love. And this big season of Lent and Easter and Pentecost is about this great love of God, who does not become human and suffer because God requires a blood sacrifice. Rather, God becomes human to demonstrate how to be human, fully. And full humanness means loving radically. And the consequence of great love is great suffering, which Jesus was certainly willing to endure out of that great love for us. In the Beatitudes, Jesus speaks of our blessedness or happiness, being the reason for our mourning or hunger or poverty. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. He's not calling us to seek out mourning and grief in order to find comfort. Rather, mourning is a result of our capacity to love. And when we do mourn, there is a transformative promise of comfort. Those who are persecuted do not find happiness by seeking out persecution. Rather, it is radical love of all people that can bring about persecution. Yet even that persecution will be redeemed. When we begin living out radical love, then the statements of the Beatitudes fall into place. We become merciful people. We live out humility. We become pure in heart. We thirst for righteousness. We become peacemakers. And when we do, we will also encounter humiliation, persecution, poverty, grief, and suffering. But don't worry, Jesus says. My promise is greater than all of this. Jesus transforms it all. Bearing our cross is simply a consequence of following the way of Christ. In his Call of the King meditation, St. Ignatius points out that when we are bold enough to sign on to Christ's plan to transform the world, we accept the joys and struggles that come with it. This perspective transforms Lent from one of intentional suffering to intentional living for Christ. This is a time of dedication to his mission. It's a time not to be concerned about what to give up, but about how to more deeply commit. As Ignatius says, we should ask ourselves, what have I done for Christ? What am I doing for Christ? What ought I do for Christ? When we live lives of joy in our Christian mission, as the Beatitudes name, we find ourselves in a transformative Lent-Easter pattern, moving us through suffering, always to the joy and promise of the risen Christ.